Francesco, we got you on because your analyses of these kind of cultural, social, and also political issues are just perfect. The world is a diverse place. We are different sorts of peoples. But are European values universal values, or are they particular to a certain geography or people?
I think that, good evening, by the way. I think they are universal values that clearly have taken root in certain parts of the world where the conditions and the history have been propitious for them to take root and grow. Obviously, they are not values that can be easily exported to other parts of the world who have different histories, different values, different cultures, because their trajectories have been different. So we mustn't be too presumptuous in Europe about the application of our universal values. But obviously, in this part of the globe, most of us, I think, believe in those values. And Europe Day is a very important day. You showed the item before of Russia celebrating the victory against Nazism. I think, and we should celebrate that here, because the Russians played a very, very important, if not fundamental, role in the defeat of what I personally would consider to be one of the greatest evils to ever have been inflicted on humanity over the last few thousand years. That aside, we in Europe need to celebrate that, but we should also celebrate May the 9th, because May the 9th was for us in Europe the turning of the page and the actualization, if you like, of some of those values in law. Some of those values that are rooted in 300 or 400 years of our history, if not longer. So universal values left, but how can I put it? Differentiated application and relevance. And we need to be mindful of that our values may seem to be a threat to others. If you like, the conflict with Russia through the Ukraine, if we want to put it that way.
Yeah, what about President Erdogan's remarks about how European leaders are dealing with the war in Gaza? When the Russians invaded Ukraine, millions of Ukrainians left the country, and most of them are living in European countries, if not EU nations. And yet for the people of Gaza, the EU is not providing the same kind of support. So President Erdogan seems to have a point here about the double standards, which he keeps mentioning.
I absolutely agree with the statement by the president of Turkey. I think that, if you like, the historical guilt of Europeans, many Europeans, as well as the United States, for rather obvious reasons, has meant that perhaps the reaction to what happened on October the 7th, which was horrific, the reaction to that lost sight of the fact that if you are a democracy and you believe in values, you have to be measured in how you respond. You do not respond with brutality by being equally brutal. And I think in that regard, he's absolutely correct. But I think gradually in Europe, there is a recognition in many states that the reaction of Europe has not been as even-handed as it should be. Interestingly, the Americans have finally got to the point of saying to Israel, look, October the 7th was terrible, but you can't massacre a population on that basis. And so it's difficult to disagree with the president of Turkey on this.
Francesco, it's always too short. I wanted to go into that idea, the theory, the idea that democracies don't go to war against each other in terms of the discussion about values. We'll leave it for the next one, because hopefully there will be one. Francesco Rizzuto, thank you.
Good evening.